So today, you need to buy a new keyboard for worship at your church. There's hundreds of choices. You don't have a very big budget. So what do you go with? Through the years, I've used a bunch of different keyboards in worship environments and church. They all have pros, they all have cons. We had a real small Nord organ module for a few years that we used, but it didn't give us a whole lot of sounds, and we couldn't afford an actual big boy Nord. So we ended up moving to a MIDI controller and a laptop. And I would say that a large majority of you watching this video and your churches use this method today. They have a lot of pros. The great thing about that is you can take the laptop home and set up a lot of your sounds ahead of time. You can even build your set lists to go straight down those sounds on those laptops. And it's great because you can have a MIDI controller at your house and then a nicer MIDI controller at church, and you just go back and forth with your laptop. If what I just described sounds very appealing to you, one of the more popular programs for doing that is called MainStage. It's very affordable. The drawbacks to those systems are you've got to have a laptop, and it's got to be a pretty well-spec'd laptop to run a lot of those sounds, especially if you're going to layer lots of different sounds on top. They're very time-consuming to turn on. Literally, you have to open the laptop and wait for everything to boot up. Sometimes your program can crash in the middle of a performance, and like Carter Stringfield and myself found out a few weeks ago when we did a gig outside in Alabama in the middle of a field, they can overheat. It's been really, really hot down here in the south, and the sun was beaming down on an outdoor stage. We didn't have any cover, and the computer couldn't handle it. The CPU literally couldn't handle it. The computer kept overheating. It was a really big problem and headache, and we really didn't have a fix on site for it. There was many times that I was not at church for whatever reason, and we had an adult go on stage who was going to play the keyboard in that particular venue, and they had no clue how to turn it on. I mean, it was not just turning on a power button. You had to boot up a laptop, you had to log into the laptop, you then had to talk them through where to go software-wise to open up the program, then they had to turn on the MIDI controller, then they had to open a program that they weren't familiar with and toggle through to find a piano sound that they wanted to use. Because of all of these challenges, a few years back I decided to go away from the MIDI controller keyboard and back to a standard keyboard with onboard sounds. I didn't really know where to turn, so after talking to Sweetwater, which I love those guys, they turned me on to the Yamaha MODX 6. Now, like most of you, if you're told about a product, you immediately come to this site, YouTube, and you begin to search the product to find out as much as you can about it before you purchase it. What I hated and could not stand about the videos on the MODX 6 is I never could find good pad sounds. And let's face it, for worship, the pad sounds are where it's at. That's for my money, that's what I really want. You want some good pianos and some good pads. And from the hundreds of videos it seemed like that I was looking through on YouTube about this particular keyboard, I never found any guys who were demoing the pads. Seemed like they were demoing everything else. So this video today, I'm going to let you hear just a little bit of the MODX 6. Full disclosure, you can find hundreds of hours worth of videos on the Mode 6 if you want to actually dive in and see everything it can do. I'm not even going to scratch the surface, not even a tad of the surface. I'm simply going to show you how to quickly make a good patch for worship, let you hear a pad or two on it so that you can hear how rich the thing can sound. And then I'm going to teach you how to quickly get up and running if you buy one, so that you can get one on your stage at church and quickly get a good sound or two for whoever's going to play the keyboard at your church without having to go through hours and hours of videos to figure out exactly what you need and exactly what to do when it comes to programming it, because this thing is massive. The keyboard literally can do all sorts of different types of things. That's great because it gives you a whole lot of flexibility. But at the same time, it can be daunting if you don't want to go through hours and hours of reading manuals. What's great about the MODX is exactly what I just detailed at the beginning of the video. If I'm not there, someone can quickly and easily cut the power button on the back of the keyboard on, and then I've set up a couple of really easy patches by hitting one button on the top right corner that they can dial in, and then they're immediately up and running. It takes very little conversation on the phone to get it started and for someone to understand how to start the keyboard up and to get some sound out of it quickly. I don't know what your definition of budget friendly is for a keyboard, but keyboards are typically pretty expensive. So if you get the 61 key version, like the one I'm going to show you in this video today, the exact keyboard I'm going to show you in this video today, as of now, when I'm making this video in August of 2023, the street price of the keyboard is $1,499, $1,500. Now you can get larger keyed options of the keyboard, and the price is going to go up a little bit. The MODX key bed is semi-weighted. It's not the greatest key bed I've ever played. It's also not the worst. It gets the job done, so I have no complaints there. But if a key bed and the feel of the key bed is very, very important to you, this may not be the keyboard that you're looking for. I simply wanted something very easy to cut on really quickly, and something that had really good sounds, especially pianos and pads. And the pads and pianos on this keyboard sounded fantastic. All right, so let's head over to the other side of the studio. I've got the keyboard set up. I'm going to show you a couple of patches. I'm also going to show you how to make a patch quickly and store it on the keyboard. We're going to start with a couple of internal patches that you're going to see. The jog wheel will kind of let you get through a lot of these internal patches. I really like this one. It's a CFX and with a pad and a sub. And the sub bass is just on the, obviously the bass, the lower keys. And what I loved about this setup, again, this is right out of the box. You get this preset. The bass is not affected by the sustain pedal. So you have to hold your finger on the lower keys to keep that bass. But what's nice about that is just the fact that if you're holding a sustained chord or whatever, you can move the bass independently with your left hand. So I'll let you hear what this sound is like. A great thing about this keyboard is you get to put a bunch of different layers together through this screen here, and it is touchscreen, and then you can control the volume of those layers right here. So very quickly you can access these during a worship service and or performance, and you actually get 8 sets of faders, 4, and then you select this button here to get to 5 through 8, and you raise and lower those within the patch to quickly change the sound of that patch setup that you've got set, so you can alter those layers in real time. Now, one thing that a lot of these keyboards drive people crazy about, and me included, I had to kind of overcome some of this early on, but I'll show you some of what the keyboard will do. One thing that's really great about this keyboard is these settings over here, especially the live set. Once we build a sound, we can actually click live set and come over here, and you've got your presets ready to go for the service, which is really, really fantastic. So I'll play you one of mine right now. Again, this is touchscreen. Once you select that actual setting that you want to go to, and then you hit performance. The screen changes, and then here's one that I use all the time for worship. And you can see on the screen I've got an acoustic piano set up here, and then I've got some electric keys. I've got a warm pad, an analog pad, and then several other keys set up. And again, these are going to be controlled through these faders right here. So here's just the electric piano. Just turn that layer up. We can pull that down, turn just the pad up. We can turn some of the analog pad up. It's a little brighter sounding. Then go to the piano, turn the piano back up. Pull that pad down a little bit, warm it up some. All right, so let's just build a good sound or a good set of layers for worship. We're going to start with the full concert grand. So that's what we've got on layer 1. We're going to touch this box here. And let's do a pad next. So we'll hit pad. Wonky sometimes. Let's choose warm. Ethereal will be fine. So there we go. Now we have piano and pad. Nice. We can adjust that a little bit. I like that. We'll touch this next. Let's put some strings on there. We'll end up, let's choose romantic or romance strings. There we go. We go back. Now we've got our string parts. All right, so now we have our piano, we have our warm pad there in number 2, and we have our string parts in number 3. There's our piano, add our pads in, a little bit of strings in the background. All right, now let's add maybe one more part. Let's do some bells. So let's go to the chromatic percussion. And let's page down. So we got, these are good. There we go, J-pop. And let's adjust that one. Again, over here is where I'm adjusting these layers. Really nice and easy and quick. And you can see on the screen, it's showing you right here on this little arrow, the actual level and how much you've got in there. So right now, no bells, just a little bit. Just need a little in the back. Not bad. And again, we can dump some of the stuff in real time. You could take that piano down, just bring some of the strings up. Then you could add in the bell. You could bring the bells down, bring the piano up without affecting what's happening when you're sustaining. Add the bells back in just a little bit. You've also got a number of controls over to the side that help you out live, quickly adjust, make adjustments and changes. You can see everything that's listed there, everything from decays to attacks, reverbs. What I really love is that cutoff, the one that's selected right there, which ends up being knob number 1. Especially when using the pads, that comes in extremely handy. The fact that you can grab that in worship and rock it in and out is a huge plus.
Now, part of the reason I wanted to do this video was because this keyboard is so massive and so daunting that you spend a lot of time trying to just peck around and figure out how to use just some basic functions. And so I wanted this video so that if this is the keyboard for you for worship, you could be up and running pretty quickly just watching how I'm designing this sound. And that way you could quickly do this and at least have it on stage while you're learning it throughout several weeks. Now, let's say you want to name it. You're going to hit this little wheel up here, and then contents, and then save and store. Store as a, sorry, it may be hard to read. Store as a new performance is what you're going to select. And then we're going to name it. Let's just call it YouTube. There we go, YouTube. And we're done. So now you have this YouTube, and you want it to be accessible here in live set so that when your people get on stage, they can quickly find it. You don't want them to go through the thousands of sounds by turning here to try to find that. So all you do is you hold Shift and click Live Set, and then you're going to choose the box you want it in, and boom, there it is. So anytime you hit Live Set, you would select that and then hit Performance. There's one of my sets. Let's go back to Live Set. You see the one we just made called YouTube. You would select it and then click Performance, and then there's the sound.
This thing has 2 synthesis engines. It is loaded with sounds. It has a fantastic arpeggiator. It has drums and loops and incredible bass sounds if you want to play bass, incredible pads, great strings, great synthesizers. It's loaded, it's packed. It would take you hours and hours and hours to get through the thing. I have linked below a couple of links to other YouTube videos that guys have made that really detail this keyboard in depth, because I didn't do that at all today. I simply gave you a taste and my opinion that this is a great keyboard for the application of worship in kind of the middle range. I said earlier, like, this may not be your idea of budget friendly, but keyboards get very, very expensive, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So $1,500 for all that you get in this package is fantastic, especially considering that the sounds are really, really good and that it's going to get the job done and give you plenty of flexibility for most of your church environments. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I'll see you next time.